Hey guys, it's Talia with the first installment of Lab Skills. As you can see, we unfortunately are running out of PBS. So today I'm going to teach you guys how to make that.
Now, making PBS is pretty easy because the directions are right on the pouch and the measurements are pretty simple. The only thing is, sometimes you're going to be making things in the lab that are not that straightforward. So I just want to go over one quick trick before we get into making PBS so that you guys can handle these future situations. So the trick is this. Anytime you're dealing with a percent, if you want to make a 3% gel, you want to make a 20% solution of this or that, you're just going to multiply percent by total. Anytime you're dealing with a concentration, such as molarity, moles per liter, just anything like that, you're going to use this equation, C1V1 equals C2V2. And you may have seen this equation before. If you haven't, it's very straightforward. The C stand for concentration, the V stand for volume, and obviously the 1 stands for what you're starting with, so that's going to be like the most concentrated solution you're taking from, and the 2 stands for where you're trying to get, aka the dilution you're trying to make. So let's do 2 practice problems to make sure you guys understand this. So let's say you're making a agarose gel to do electrophoresis. You make this by adding your agarose powder into buffer. So if I tell you I want a 3% gel, aka a 3% agarose gel, then I'm telling you that 3% of the solution needs to be agarose. So we see here when we have a percent, we're multiplying the percent by the total. So 3% turns into 0.03. And let's say I want to make a total mixture of 100 milliliters once it's all dissolved and heated up. I'm just going to multiply that 0.03 times the total, 100 milliliters. And since the powder is a solid, we're going to be measuring it out in grams. So 0.03 times 100 is 3. So I'm going to measure out 3 grams of the powder. And I'm going to put that into what would technically be 97 milliliters of liquid, because we add these up and that gives us the 100 milliliters total of what we're interested in. Now in a separate scenario, let's say we're starting off with a 5 molar solution of, I'll just make it up, we're going to call it liquid K. And I tell you that this is way too concentrated. What I really want to make is a 1 molar dilution. And I want to make 10 milliliters of it. What do I dilute it with? I dilute it with water. So, since we see we're dealing with these M's, our molarities, we're going to be using C1V1 equals C2V2. So what values do we know? We know our C1, we're starting off with 5 molar. We know our C2, I'm trying to get it to a 1 molar dilution. We know that the final the final volume that we want is 10 milliliters. So what we're trying to find is what volume of the concentrated solution we need to use in order for it to be diluted. So let's plug these in. 5 molar times V1 equals 1 molar times 10 milliliters. We divide by the 5 molar on both sides. These cancel out, and we're left with 2 milliliters equals V1. So I know that I'm using 2 milliliters of liquid K. But what am I doing with these 2 milliliters? Well, I told you guys that I'm diluting it with water. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 8 milliliters of water in order to get the total 10 milliliters that I was interested in. So now doing this will give me my dilution to make a 1 molar solution that is 10 milliliters total. Now that we can handle our more complicated situations, let's go back to making PBS.
So when you first enter the lab, unfortunately Alessandra might not always be here, but if you go up to this cabinet or this shelf and you grab this box, you will see that it is labeled as phosphate buffered saline. Make sure you do not pick the other box which says PBS tween on it. That has another chemical that you do not want to use. So when you open the box, you will see a pouch. There's a ton of them in there. Now what's really nice about these pouches is they actually tell you exactly how to make it. So you see you're going to make 1 pouch and you're going to dissolve it in 1 liter of distilled or deionized water. And once you mix that, it should be the perfect amount of PBS at a pH of 7. And this can usually be stored at room temperature, but I think they keep ours in the fridge, right?
The PBS?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. All right, so now let's get to making it. Before you do anything, you always want to label your bottle. I put the concentration because it's 1x PBS, and I also put the date it was made so people know about how old it is. So now we're going to measure out 1,000 milliliters, which is also 1 liter. DI water can be received from this machine right here in the prep room. You just use this hose and you twist this knob. You always go off of the meniscus, aka where the water kind of dips under. So it looks like we're at the line. To make sure everything mixes evenly, I'm going to use a hot plate that has a stirring option. So I'm going to put a stir bar in. It magnetically attaches. If I turn this, that's the heat, don't do that. If I turn this, it starts to stir. So I'm adding the liquid first. And then the powder. And you'll see there's a little bit of powder at the bottom, which is more of the reason why we gotta start mixing. Just gonna let it mix till it all dissolves. And there you go, you have your 1x PBS.
Every video ends as every lab session should, with a good cleanup of your space. With that, thank you guys for watching and good luck in the lab.